All right, starting off with the basics of trigonometry. Right triangle trigonometry begins with a right triangle. And in this picture here, we've got a right triangle, and each side has got a special name. To know how to label the triangle is very important, and it all begins with knowing which angle the question is about. This question is about angle x, so that's the angle that we're interested in. And to be able to label the sides, one of the sides is the hypotenuse. Which one is it? The hypotenuse is the longest side. The side that's 36 in this picture is on the opposite side from our angle. So here's our angle x. On the opposite side of the picture is our opposite side, which we'll nickname O. And then the last side, the 27, is the adjacent side. The adjacent side is connected to the angle, the right angle, and the angle we're interested in. So another way to think about the adjacent side is it's the attached side, the side that's attached or connected to the right angle and the angle that's in the question. So that's how you start off, by labeling your picture. All right, setting up your equations. Now there's three proportions that are famous in trigonometry, and that's the formula for sine, so, the formula for cosine, ka, and the formula for tangent, which is toa. So there's an abbreviation right there of the three famous formulas, SOHCAHTOA, and what you have to do on a question like this is actually figure out which one you're interested in. This one is very clear because they're actually asking us just to find the tangent of angle x. So the formula we would use would be tangent, or TOA. So the tangent of the angle x is equal to the opposite side, which is 36, divided by the adjacent side, which is 27. And that's the end of this question. That's all they needed us to find out, is what would be the fraction. All right, for this question here, we're actually asked to find out how long x is. And a good way to begin that one is by labeling the picture. In the picture, the x is the hypotenuse. It's the longest side. The angle inside is 51. On the opposite side of the picture is the opposite side. And that must mean that the 10 is the adjacent side. Anytime you're working with this kind of problem, you're only going to use two of the three sides. So I like to circle those. I'm going to use the hypotenuse and the adjacent. I'm not going to use the opposite side. Why? Because it's completely blank. I'm not interested in it, and they're not telling me how long it is. So that one's not going to be used at all. That has to sit on the sidelines, sort of. So once you have your triangle labeled, think about those three famous formulas, SOHCAHTOA, and pick the one that has the ingredients in it that you actually have. So the two ingredients I have here are A and H. The only formula that has A and H in it is ka. So this is going to be the one I use. So I would write down the C is for cosine. Always next to the sine, cosine, and tangent is the angle. So the cosine of 51 degrees is equal to the adjacent side in the picture is 10, and the hypotenuse is x. So that's setting up the question correctly, which is a very important thing to do. Next thing is to actually solve it. We solve these by cross multiplying. So I can place that over 1 and cross multiply, and it gets me very close to the final answer. By cross multiplying, I get rid of the fractions, which is a good deal, but I still don't have the x by itself. I still have to find a way to get rid of the cosine on the left-hand side. I do that by dividing by the cosine, because to get rid of multiplying by cosine, I do the exact opposite, and I divide by a cosine. Once that gets done, the cosines cancel on the left-hand side, and I just get that x is equal to, or approximately equal to, the answer that comes out of the calculator when I plug that in, 10 divided by the cosine of 51. So tap it into your calculator, and you get about 15.9 if I round it to the nearest tenth. 15.9 units long. Take a look back in the picture. Does that actually look like it could be 16? It looks like it has to be bigger than 10. It's the hypotenuse, so it looks like it's a good answer, and it's the right answer. Well, here's another one where we're looking for how long one of the sides are, and we started just like the same way we started the other one, by labeling the picture. So there's my angle. Across from the angle is my opposite side. The hypotenuse is the biggest side, and that must mean that the 12 is the adjacent side. I like to do a quick check to make sure I have it right. Is this the longest side? Yep, it's across from the right angle. It's the hypotenuse. Is the adjacent side attached to the right angle and the angle in the picture? Yeah. And is this the opposite angle from, is this the opposite side from the angle? Yeah. So we're in good shape there. Then we have to decide which formula to use, so, ka, or toa. Well, what ingredients do we have in the picture? We're looking for the opposite. We have the adjacent. We won't need the hypotenuse. We're going to be looking for the formula that has O and A in it. And there's only going to be one of the three that will work. So we're going to use TOA to finish this off. So the equation is tangent of the angle, 53, is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent. In this question, I got x in a different position. In the question just before, the x was on the bottom. On this question here, the x is up top here. So I'm going to finish this one by just doing a quick cross multiply, and boom, I got the answer. X is equal to 12 times the tangent of 53 degrees. All I have to do is type it into the calculator to get my approximate answer. So 12 times the tangent of 53 comes out to be about 15.9. Kind of a coincidence. I think the last one was 15.9 as well, but it's a different picture. Does the answer look right in the picture? All right, well, let's take a good look at that. Does it look bigger than, does it look like it could be 16? Well, this side here is 12. This looks bigger than 12, so 16 seems like a reasonable answer. So those are things you should do, is check your answer for accuracy by just looking at the picture. All right, last one for this quick tutorial, and that's how to find out a missing angle in the picture. So in this question, we've got the two sides in the right triangle, but we don't have the angle. Some students actually try to use Pythagorean theorem on this. No, Pythagorean theorem will find a missing side if you've got two of the other sides in the right triangle. So in this one here, it's still trigonometry. It begins by labeling your triangle. So the hypotenuse is the biggest side, at 33. If this is the angle we're interested in, on the opposite side of the picture is the opposite angle. There's our opposite. The last side is the adjacent side, which we won't even need in the picture, because at the end we only use the sides that we're interested in, which are, and we've got information about, which would be the H and the O. All right, so I've done a ton of these questions, but still I like to write down SOHCAHTOA. Something about writing it down makes me feel like I'm covering all bases here and making sure that I do a really good job. So the one that I'm going to be using is this one. It's the only one that has the O and the H in it. So I'm going to write down S is for sine. Here it's different where the angle is what we're looking for. So the X is on the left-hand side. Now it's opposite over hypotenuse. So I looked at my picture. The opposite is 26. The hypotenuse is 33. And now I have to finish this one. To finish it, we don't cross multiply. We have to do an inverse operation. And a good way to think about that is it's almost like putting a car into reverse. Okay? We use sine, cosine, and tangent to find sides. But if we have the sides and we're looking for the angle, we need to go in a reverse direction. There are a lot of things in math that are like that. Multiplying is the inverse of dividing. Adding is the inverse of subtracting. Squaring is the inverse of square rooting. So being able to do something in a backwards way is something that gets used in math quite often. The good news for us is all we have to do is type it into the calculator, and it's maybe the easiest one to finish because there's no cross multiplying involved. It's just typing it in. The important thing is, though, that we're not using the sign button or the sign command. We're using the inverse of sign. That's not an exponent. That's just a label saying that we're going in the reverse order. And it doesn't mean you're multiplying by -1 or multiplying or doing anything like that. All it is just straight up the symbol for going in reverse order. So typing it into the calculator, we find out that the angle is about equal to 52 degrees, and it looks just about right in my picture. All right, there'll be more practice coming on some future videos. Hopefully this little quick 10-minute tune-up was helpful for you, and keep on watching for more advanced versions of some of the work we're doing this month.